you tired of the daily hustle and bustle, the endless traffic just to get your little one to a good school? GMS Snap Bingo offers a unique blend of academic excellence with a holistic child development in both nursery and primary. We provide a national curriculum with an international touch. Enroll your child today by visiting our campus along Trinity College, Dabigo Road. GMS Snap Bingo, where every child's potential is a reality. Because we care.
Hello and welcome to Second Take with IDK. My name is Mebo Kevirungi and this is
Ismail Dakaba Chigongo.
Do you call yourself a sports pundit or a journalist?
A journalist.
A journalist.
Yeah, it's more comfortable for me.
It's more comfortable for you.
Yeah.
Okay. If you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, I don't know what you're waiting for. Please go ahead, like, share and subscribe, as well as give us some of your comments. If Isma gets anything wrong, do let us know as well. He loves the challenge of knowing that he was wrong. Isma.
And you know we passed 2,000 subscribers.
Oh,
yeah.
wonderful. Hallelujah.
I noticed we are past 2,000. So I appreciate that. We started with 0, started from the bottom, now we're here. Started from the bottom, now I'm a whole G. Yeah. And you know, this morning, I might be watching the show. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, good night. This morning, while I was dropping children at school, the song that caught my attention was "Break Your Neck" by Busta Rhymes. I think it was playing on one of the English radio stations that is below 90. Yeah, below 90. Sagara bawa kalango ka. So you find that. So it brought back so much because Break Your Neck is should be around 2006 or 2005, very many years ago, Busta Rhymes, and we love our hip hop. My generation, I think, do love their hip hop because when we grew up, Snoop Dogg, Dr. Dre, Wu-Tang Clan, all those groups were at the top of their game. Nate Dogg, many. You could pick your favorite. Now, so after listening to the song on the car radio, I was forced to play it on the phone because I had to look for it and just relive the memories. Yeah.
I know. Are you going to watch Michael by any chance? Or have you
Michael?
watched it? Yeah, the Michael Jackson biopic.
No, I haven't. I should. It's on Netflix?
It's in the cinema.
It's in
doing
the cinema.
very well
Oh.
worldwide. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've been making plans to go and watch The Devil Wears Prada 2. Anne Hathaway and Helen Mirren.
Yeah.
So I spoke to one of my movie junkies, Max Sally, and told him we should make a date and go and watch. But every time I've checked at Cinemax, it's not.
I think
It's not
it
yet.
did it show and it ended? I don't know. But speaking of which, I actually watched a movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I watched Toy Story
Okay.
with my children over the weekend on Saturday.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was quite nice. But Isma, you're a father. You said you were dropping off kids. Happy Father's Day.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Very glad. I didn't get any gifts. Though one of them reminded me of their birthday that is in July, and told me that this time they not only want cake, they also want a gift. Yeah, they asked for a gift and they told me what gift they wanted. Yeah. I told them I'm not buying it immediately. Yeah. So it's an interesting journey, but I also received some heartwarming messages. Primarily from my deputy fathers, my sisters, Amin and Aisha. Where I'm not and I don't step a foot, they are always the second fathers where I'm not. So yeah, I was glad when they were the first to send. Of course, even my mom. My mom is the first person, I think, in the morning. She's up at 5:30. Yeah. And the first thing she does is send a message. When you don't respond within an hour, then she calls you.
Have you seen my message?
Before the sunrise.
Hey, she calls you that early?
Yeah.
By 6:30? Because you haven't responded to a message. Oh my.
She's a very interesting person.
Anyway, Mami, we love you.
Yeah.
Isma, but speaking of being a father, how much of a labor ward have you seen?
I've been there for the birth of my children. I remember my eldest child, the son, he's nearly 11. He has a lot of lugezi-gezi now, yeah? He has a lot of lugezi-gezi, thinks he can turn the world around, and he has all these ideas about how life should be. I got very, very close to the delivery room. Then the final question that came from the gynecologist who was in charge on the day, the specialist at Nsambya Hospital, then asked me several times, because I'd been advised not to step into the theater. Then she asked me at least twice whether I really wanted to go into the room. Then I chickened out because I had all these stories. I have siblings who are in the medical profession, and then I have so many people in my family who are nurses and doctors. So I had an experience of what happens there from conversation. In that moment, I chickened out. So I always stop right at the door.
At the door. So
and the tension.
the tension. So how would you rate your presence? Because there's a journalist who has been saying that all men do is just hold the hand and maybe rub the back.
Yeah. I've done all that, hold the hand and rub the back, but in the moment, but when it's the final, let's say 30 minutes or an hour, I stop at the door. And I've seen that from the story of Jeremy Doku.
Exactly. And we can begin from there.
Because the actual story goes that Jeremy Doku gave an interview to one of the journalists and said that he's planning to go home in the first week of July because his wife or fiance, is giving birth to their first child, which would imply that he would miss round of 16 or quarter-final games
if they reach.
If Belgium get to that. So one journalist appearing on a Dutch radio criticized Jeremy Doku from what he described as walking away from the biggest moment of your life, a World Cup.
Something people would die for.
People would die to play at a World Cup, and you may get only one chance to play at the World Cup. And there's been a lot of criticism towards Jeremy Doku, and a bit of it towards this Dutch journalist. I think the name is called Perrion. Yeah. If I read the name, Francois Perrion. There's been a
lady. We need to put.
Yeah.
When I saw the comment, I assumed it was a man.
Yeah.
But it's a lady.
It's a lady.
Who made that comment. That was shocking.
There's been an argument pro and anti Jeremy Doku's decision. I don't know. First of all, the first thing that came to my mind is like, would any white person criticize this? Because we know Europe, and the West for according men this amount of time to go away for their children or for the birth of their children whenever they would want, regardless whether it's a World Cup final, regardless of whether it's the biggest event of the year of your life. They believe the biggest event of your life is the birth of a child. So I was actually shocked, first of all, that there's even a debate, because for me it's very obvious. It may not be the same with us, yeah? Sometimes you've gone out to work at an island, then you're told, hey, omuchala yazala. Then you say, nange nja kujja mulabe nkyalina byenkola eno. Yeah? That's how it happens in our culture. So I was actually shocked that there's even a debate around that. But my 2 cents is, if Doku chose to go away for the birth of his child, and he spoke to his teammates and the team leader, let's say the coach and the FA president of Belgium, then there's no issue with it. He should be allowed to go. Eventually, he missed the game between Belgium and Iran, and the report that was given the Belgian FA is that he has an illness.
Yeah.
That's why he skipped the game. But then also, of course, speculation is rife that because of that interview and the birth of his child, Belgium decided to move forward without him for the immediate term. But I want to believe he's sick. So it's a very interesting story, but I was shocked. I was honestly shocked that there can be a debate in Europe or in the USA about a man going away for the birth of their child because they've always gone away. They've always gone away. It would be it would even be more shocking if it was in Uganda.
In Uganda, we had a player recently get married on match day, and we talked about it. The team was playing in West Nile.
Yeah, Herbert Achai.
Yeah,
of KCCA,
so
and they lost the game at Calvary.
Would you equate it to the same?
No, because the wedding is something you can postpone, or you can alter the date of that. Gestation period, the gestation period and the eventual delivery of a child is not something you can move around. It's written in the stars or written by God, and you cannot alter that. That's totally different. But I was actually shocked there's a debate in Europe
about that,
because it's almost obvious that every man will go away, and maybe you people are now exposed to all this Western media, now expect Ismail, Brandon, Rasta and Jeremiah to all sit there by the labor ward and wait for you to pop this crying thing on that day. I've been lucky to be there, but I don't blame people when they are not able to be there. If I'm on a business trip,
as a man, it's true. Men who are macho and what that part, does it show your vulnerability? Do you feel, you know what, I actually can't handle seeing my wife, my girlfriend like that?
One of the things I'm always credited for, out of credit for people who have been around me for a very long time, is my patience. Yeah, my ability to endure and get through things. Yes, it's that moment can be very, very difficult. But even if you're just not in the labor ward to see the actual delivery, by the time the woman is actually wheeled out of the labor ward into whatever you can afford, whether the general ward or the private room, the tension does not go away with you. You still view that vulnerability of her, and you caused it. Yeah.
And we go back again. What's wrong with human beings? What's wrong with us?
You caused it.
You caused it, and you caused it again.
Exactly.
What's wrong with that? Even we women, we go back.
Many times I'm thinking the trauma that women and men go through in that moment. Many times you think a woman is going to say, never again. Now, yeah, why? You'll be there. You'll be there and you're called again. And you're required. And I'm always thinking, okay, who would want to go through this more than once? Yeah?
I know. You know, when I had my first child, I remember as I was leaving hospital, I think after the first week checkup and what, they said, we now have to talk about birth control. And I looked at the lady, I was like, birth control? I don't need it now, you know? Because at that point you think, you know, I'm done. Yeah. I'm done. But lo and behold. Anyway, did Belgium miss Doku yesterday? Because I think Iran failed to capitalize. They were even at, they had scored a goal and it was disallowed. But Belgium had a man sent off and they couldn't, Iran couldn't
capitalize on that. And actually, on Sunday night, there's a period when I was not able to get in front of the TV because I was driving.
Not in a labor ward?
No, not on the labor ward. And one of my friends is called Kulumba, Brazilian. He's a commentator for football. He's a journalist for football in Akabozi, Kubiri, where...
Why did you say he's Brazilian?
His name is Brazilian. I think someone who's heard when you hear Brazilian, you'll relate a bit more. So he was commentating the game between Belgium and Iran, a portion of the second half, because I watched the first half and I had to move and then get somewhere I would watch the second half. So he kept calling it Iran. So I laughed. I had to text him because, you know, when you watch BBC and CNN, it's called Iran. When you watch Al Jazeera, it's called Iran. Yeah, then there's Iraq.
Knowing it's Iran and Iraq. Just so American.
It was amazing that Kulumba had chosen the CNN side. Yeah, and you know the commentators are also very careful to call it the Islamic Republic of Iran. Yeah, it's also very important. Even when you see the graphic has IR.
I saw that. I didn't know what it meant.
Yeah.
It hasn't always been that way.
Yeah, it changed from 1979.
Okay.
Yeah, after the Shah was overthrown, the Shah is equivalent of the king or the Kabaka or of Iran at the time. And when the Islamic Revolution came and overthrew the kingship, they changed it from Iran to the Islamic Republic of Iran. They actually also altered the flag, the national flag. That's why if you've noticed amongst the fans, there are fans who are carrying the flag of Iran pre-1979 and then the current flag. Then you've also seen, if you listen when they are playing the national anthem, you've had noises, yeah? Especially from Iranian dissidents, people who have left the country over the past 47 years since the Islamic Revolution took over the country. There are people who do not believe that this is the right national, because that also was changed by the Ayatollah, who was recently killed earlier this year. So when the country changed the flag, changed the national anthem, changed, there's so many things that have changed about Iran over that period. However, for football, we want them to do well because many people have felt they've been wrongly treated. I've also seen a story that America is willing to step back a bit, because remember, they are staying in Mexico, then flying into America to play their games, and they fly out immediately after the game. So I've seen reports that after a complaint filed by Iran to FIFA, FIFA has met the head of the White House World Cup task force, Giuliani, a son of a former US presidential candidate, Rudy Giuliani, and former New York mayor of New York. And they are willing to step back on that and allow Iranian players and their contingent to stay in the country a bit longer than the 24-hour ultimatum they are being given before and after the game. The games that they played.
I think if they had known, well, we didn't know that war was going to happen, but they would have, scheduled their games only in Canada and Mexico.
Perhaps. And it took only for the insistence of Gianni Infantino that Iran play their games in the USA.
I wish you would do the same for Congolese fans and Ugandans, Ugandan journalists.
His primary responsibility will be the players. But initially, remember, when the war broke out, and that should have been in February, yes. Yeah, when Israel and the USA decided to attack Iran, Donald Trump, the US president, actually came out and said he wouldn't want Iran to play in the US because he cannot guarantee their safety. Yeah? And to imagine a first world country not guaranteeing the safety of everyone, because every dissident runs to those countries. So in the end, and at the time it sounded like he wanted Iran to play their games elsewhere. Mexico and Canada actually offered to host all the games that Iran would be involved in. But FIFA insisted. I think it would have set a very dangerous precedent that you can choose who plays in your country and who doesn't. So FIFA insisted, and the US stepped back on that. Predictably, there's been a lot of stories around Iran beyond what is on the pitch. And I'm lucky you started with what was on the pitch. I'm the one who was actually diverted you to all the politics because I've read about the Islamic Revolution of Iran repeatedly. And it's one of the most enduring stories. That even when maybe the West felt that the killing of the Ayatollah Al-Khamenei was the end, the system is so strong, the leadership of the revolution is so strong that it's not even about who is at the top, that they could still...
Has his son been seen in public?
He was earlier on when he first came in, but he hasn't been seen ever since.
Oh, I thought even at the beginning they just announced he is there, but there was no
I think
picture.
they've released a video before on Iranian state television of him conducting a meeting of the inner circle, and then thereafter he's disappeared since. But no one is in doubt who is in charge. Yeah, that's the most important. You don't even have to be seen. Sometimes, like the former UK Prime Minister said, Margaret Thatcher, that you have to if you have to tell people that you're a woman, then you're not. People should be able to see it. And she was talking about power. Yeah, I don't think there's someone I've read about in terms of leadership like Margaret Thatcher. And she also stated that if you have to show people that you're powerful, then you're not. Yeah, so no one is in doubt about who is in charge. And I think they deserved more than they got in that game against Belgium. Yes, they scored a goal by the former Inter Milan forward Taremi, and it was ruled out for offside. Via VAR. Then they had a phase after the Belgian defender, Ngoy, was sent off for that challenge when he was the last man, denying a clear goal-scoring opportunity. Then also Iran had to thank their goalkeeper because there are some good saves in there to ensure that Belgium do not take the lead. But I thought when Belgium went down to 10 men, Iran should have gone for it. And they didn't. They didn't. And that would have been the story of the World Cup. Many of us, I think, appreciated the result they picked against New Zealand in the tournament opener, the 2-2 draw. And in that game, they had to come from behind on 2 occasions. They came from down twice to pick a point and now have a second point. More importantly, they are still in the tournament. But I felt they should have got more than one. Yeah,
okay.
I felt they should have got more than one. And they'll look back on this result and think they let themselves down, because that result would have meant progress to the round of 32 amid all the things that have happened over the past few months, especially the war that now is ended, in quotes, that won't be ended for long. It could resume at any time. We know the US and Israel tend to not walk away, when there is a ceasefire like they've agreed now, and a 60-day period for them to negotiate long-term peace in the Middle East. That does not mean that there will not be a war. And with Israel still attacking Hezbollah in Lebanon, you almost know that Iran will revenge for that. And their revenge normally precipitates into a longer war, where US then jump in and then talk of nuclear weapons and all. So their story has been enduring. I think it's the one country that has had the biggest story off the pitch than there's been on the pitch. Yeah.
Okay, as Spain now fully in charge, we saw Lamine Yamal score under 10 minutes or something.
Yeah.
And I don't know what Saudi was thinking, but he also made some saves. The Saudi goalkeeper definitely could have been more than the 4-0 we saw.
There had been a lot of criticism of Spain after that goalless draw with Cape Verde in their tournament opener, and needed to make some sort of response. And I thought some of the things that stated on this show, that they need a bit more pace in the wide areas, and having Lamine Yamal on the pitch was a huge bonus. They also, I think, brought in Alex Baina on one of the wing positions, and that gave Martin Oriathabo, their centre forward, a lot more freedom. Remember, he's not your natural number 9. He's one who plays that role of a false 9, drifts in and out of that position in the forward area. And I was mightily pleased for him that he set up the first goal for Lamine Yamal. And then thereafter was a thorn in that Saudi defense for lengthy periods of the game. Eventually, Oriathabo scored twice. He scored 2 goals in the game. And Spain, you could have felt that was a bit of normal service. When you come into a tournament and you're Spain, you're expected perhaps to win the first 2 games against Cape Verde and Saudi Arabia by an aggregate of 8-0. When one doesn't work out, you move on to the next one. But I also felt, from the words of De La Fuente, their coach, they are not very worried about how well they performed. They had chances in that game against Cape Verde. Vozinha was man of the match, the goalkeeper from the island. So they just had to do the same things, but also do them at a higher tempo. I was mightily worried about, I thought they were very slow and tentative in their first game. Now, they played with a lot more oomph, a lot more pace, and they were going to tear apart any kind of defense in that sense. You saw Marco Correa get into forward positions. There's even an own goal that he caused in the game. So there was so many things that Spain ticked off that were much better than how they performed in the first game. So you think it's just one they can build on. And the tournament is never won and lost on the first day. So maybe some of the things we said about Spain were a bit far too fetched. We were too far-fetched. We rushed to make conclusions about how poor they had been. And that was the kind of response you need
from
all of
them.
us know some of these bigger teams will get better
Yeah, we'll
as
get
the
better with
tournament
time.
progresses.
Okay, Egypt in Toronto, in Vancouver actually, this morning, their first World Cup win ever against the All Whites. I couldn't believe it, and they were saying, and they have been at the World Cup multiple times. They've only managed draws.
Yeah, Egypt were the first African team to qualify for the World Cup. Next time you're going for a quiz show, I've given you a tip in that sports section. They first qualified in 1934, the World Cup that was won by Italy. Thereafter, they did not kick on. Then they went through a phase when they had great teams that were not qualifying. Remember, the current coach, Hassan Hossam, scored the goal that took them to the World Cup back in 1990, in Italia 90. And everyone thought after that Egypt will become regulars. They did not qualify for the next 28 years until 2018, when Mohamed Salah came along and they scored the goal that eventually took them to Russia. But throughout all those years, Egypt had not won a game until
draws and losses.
Yeah, until that game against New Zealand. And perhaps it's the kind of team they should be beating. Going into the World Cup, New Zealand were the lowest ranked team in the FIFA log.
From that region.
Yeah, in the FIFA log. Of all the 48 teams in the World Cup, New Zealand were the lowest ranked at the kickoff of the World Cup because they are ranked 85th by FIFA. So this is the kind of team you should beat. But I also felt Egypt were worth the result because of their second half performance. I thought they were very poor in the first. In the first 45, they were not playing with the same kind of impetus, the same kind of speed, ability to recycle the ball and press the ball high up the pitch. When they did so in the second half, the rewards were there to see. And eventually, Mohamed Salah, who deserves a lot of praise for getting Egyptian football back to this level, that even the generation of maybe Abu Trika, Hossam Ghali, Ahmed Hassan, Essam El Hadri did not. While they won 3 Africa Cup of Nations between 2006 and 2010, they never got the team to the World Cup. And Salah's done that on multiple occasions, so he deserves credit for that and eventually got his goal. A deserved result for the Egyptians. And now I think the next step, they're in a group where all the teams could still go through. Because that's the same group that also has Belgium and Iran. All the 4 teams could still go through. So there's still a job to do. Finish the tournament with a good result, or finish the group stage with a good result against Iran. And then you're into the round of 32, and who knows, you could get a draw that you could navigate and make it to the next round into the round of 16 of the World Cup.
Okay. Morocco, Brazil, they managed a draw. Can we talk about the midfield of the magic midfield of Morocco?
They've since moved on and played their second game. I don't know why it's still stuck.
Brazil, whom did Morocco play?
They played Scotland and won the game by a goal to nil. And then Brazil beat Haiti.
Brazil beat Haiti.
By 3 goals to nil.
Okay,
yeah.
Sorry, I am getting, there's just so much football. But let's talk about one of the most heartwarming stories. Cape Verde holding Uruguay, a picture of Suarez holding his head. Vizinha's mother was in the crowd.
Yeah.
What do they call the spectator? Was
in
among
the stand. She was even given a VIP box by FIFA. She was behind the glass, not like all of us normal people who sit under the sun.
Do you know, from her arrival in Miami at the airport to the stadium, it's like VIP treatment.
Yeah, the things that your child can give you.
Wow.
Like, there are cases, there are parents I know who misrepresent their children. One of them I'll tell you off air. Because I know the son is very humble, a very nice person to be around. Then his father is often very intelligent with his mouth closed. Yeah? I'll tell you that one after we are done with the show. So Vizinha's mother should be very, very proud about how the son has represented her. To the extent that it forced the US authorities, immigration authorities, to hand her a visa that had to be fast-tracked. I would imagine if she had applied for a visa, her interview would have been at the end of next year. You know the pain of US visas across the world and the scheduling.
And the bond that you put, deposit.
And the 57 million, as well as 57 million shillings in Uganda. So, heartwarming story, and that's what the World Cup brings, is a lot of them around several teams. but Vozenia will be one of the most enduring after Iran. Glad to see the mom, but the day she showed up, he conceded 2. When she didn't concede any. So maybe the parents should stay away. I know one of my favorite and greatest sports persons that has ever lived is an Indian cricketer called Sachin Tendulkar. He retired in 2013. He had made his debut for India in the 1980s, I think 1987 to be specific, against Pakistan, and played for the national team until 2013. His mom did not go to watch him until the day Sachin Tendulkar was playing his final game for India.
Wow. She stayed home?
Sure, stayed home until that game against the West Indies in 2013. So, and that day, I think he scored a half century. He had a 71 before he was knocked over and walked away. And everyone in the stands was crying, yeah? Fans were crying, his mom was crying, Indian cricket officials, fellow players. There were so many wet eyes inside that stadium at the Wankhede in Mumbai. So that time she showed up, Sachin Tendulkar did not score the 100, the centuries, the many centuries, because eventually scored 51 across his career and maybe deserved one on this final day, including he also scored a 200. I think the first batsman to score 200 in ODI cricket. So Vozenia's mom showed up and he conceded twice. However, the result was not catastrophic, I think, for the side. This was second successive draw. A very small country, 600,000 maximum, the number of people in there. And again, it's a Uruguay side who won the first World Cup in 1930 and have a lot of pedigree that Uruguay always show up for the World Cup. Even when you've not watched them in 4 years, when they show up, they are going to be solid, they are going to challenge teams, and they're going to get to the quarterfinals, the semi-finals. So I felt the result fair on Capo Verde. They played very well for it. But I also think the Uruguay coach, Marcelo Bielsa, who people in Argentina describe as a madman of football, he has all these strange ideas about the game. And I felt he also had very strange ideas about this one. He had so many midfielders on the pitch, from Ugarte, Rodrigo Bentancur, Fefe Valverde, and then did not have a point man because he decided to sit Darwin Núñez for the game, and I thought they paid the price for it. They could knock the ball round, square, but not enough of a target man to go at that Capo Verde defense, and they paid the price for that. And you could argue Capo Verde also had chances of their own because they had nothing to defend and worry about without Núñez on the pitch. And eventually 2-2 was a fair result. And now Uruguay in a bit of a fight.
They face Spain.
They face Spain in their final game. And if they were to lose that, and Cape Verde now will be very confident of getting a result in their final game against Saudi Arabia. If they do that, then Uruguay could be headed home. So if they are knocked out, Uruguay will look back at this game against that island nation as the one that knocked them out of the World Cup.
Okay, let's talk about Ivory Coast. I thought they were very unfortunate to lose to Germany.
I thought the right word you're going to use is that they were very stupid in that game. They had Germany on the ropes. They had chances, especially at 1-0. Ivory Coast had chances to bury Germany and go 2-0 or 3-0 up. People remember that chance that fell to Simon Adingra after Pepe had come on and played him a square pass, which Adingra wasted. Then thereafter, Germany gets someone off a bench, Dennis Udam, who has been an informed player. And there's been a huge debate in Germany about whether he should be starting games over Kai Havertz. But maybe sometimes you're the super sub, and there's something to change when you come on the pitch while Kai Havertz wouldn't. Then he comes onto the pitch and scores the equalizer and gets a second. I think Ivory Coast paid the price for their profligacy. They had chances, they had Germany on the ropes, and they refused to deliver the knockout blow. Thereafter, I think against a side of a stature of Germany, you're going to pay the price. and Ivory Coast paid the price for that. I'm one of those who was not feeling sorry. Okay, in Africa I only support Uganda. Honestly, I'd only support Uganda. But I was very happy that Ivory Coast lost. For a simple reason is that you get a chance to beat Germany. That comes once perhaps in 30 years. Then you do not bury that chance. When you go on and lose the game, I think it's everything you deserve.
90-something minutes.
Yeah.
So that was sad. But anyway, Sweden, you had said, was the lowest ranked or poorest team from Europe.
Of Europe, yeah.
Yes.
I think the poorest of the qualified European sides that made it to the World Cup.
So did that show? Because Netherlands, you know, that was it 5-1, 5-0?
5-1 in the end. I think it showed on the pitch how poor the Swedes have been throughout the past 2 years. And they have some of the hottest strikers. You have Victor Gyökeres and Alexander Isak. You're going to get chances. And there are chances in that game. But I want to give Netherlands a lot more credit than I'll discuss Sweden. I thought the changes that Ronald Koeman made to the side, one, to play a lot more direct and have Brobbey, the Sunderland forward, in that position at number 9, gave Sweden a totally different dimension in terms of how they had to do work defensively. I thought Brobbey brought a lot of directness to the Netherlands forward line, which they did not have in their first game, which ended in a draw against Japan, the 2-2 draw. That directness, and you could see the 2 goals that Brobbey scored, gave the attacking players a bit of a target man to get the ball to. Secondly, I had complained a lot about how I felt the midfield was a bit too similar. Now, what Koeman did was a change of the roles. I thought, and I'd argued that I think the 3 of them, Tijan Riders, Ryan Gravenberch and Frankie de Jong, were playing a bit too flat and they were too similar. Now, the change he made in that area is that he let Frankie de Jong, who lacked space, sit at the base of the midfield and gave Ryan Gravenberch and Tijan Riders a lot more freedom. And they're almost playing, you would argue, people call it umbrella in that midfield, that you had 2 players who are supporting Brobbey and getting into forward areas a bit more from the midfield. That's Gravenberch and Tijan Riders, and I thought that gave Netherlands a totally different dimension going forward. But they gave away chances. I thought Virgil van Dijk, Mickey van der Veen, and the others at the back gave away chances. Sweden did not take their chances, but they were very, very poor defensively. Victor Lindelof and company, they could have done better. But you have to credit for me Ronald Koeman. I thought he got the message on how poor they had been in the game against Japan. And there was an instant change, not only of personnel in Brobbey, but also in the plan, how they were going to execute. And it showed. Eventually, maybe 5-1 flatters them, but that's, in the end, it's a victory.
Okay, Tunisia are on their way home. They join Haiti and Turkey. So have Reynard, does he stay with his job? You know, he just came in to, you know, get work magic, but the magic didn't.
Actually, as we started the show, before we started the show, Clive Chaze, my colleague and friend, and I don't say that lightly. I could argue I also wrote his first stories when he came to the Daily Monitor. I could say I taught him how to write. Just sent me a story about Havrena and resigning. From that job. I think done by africasoccer.com.
After one game?
Yes. They were humbled, beaten in the first game under Sabri Lamuchi, and then Lamuchi is gone, and then they bring in Havrena, and he too is gone not too long after. Yes, he's set to resign. Yes, Tunisia head coach Havrena is expected to step down following the Carthage Eagles final Group F match against the Netherlands at the 2026 FIFA Club World Cup, according to multiple reports in Tunisian media. Yes, it's going to work out because there has not been an improvement. It was going to be very hard to step into a job at this point and make an impact.
The group is hard.
The group was already hard. Then Uganda lost their first game against Sweden. Then they were beaten 4-0 by Japan in the second. But while I've watched Tunisia, I think the Tunisian performance says a lot more about Africa than it speaks about Tunisia. Because these guys walk through qualifiers on this continent. Yeah? So it says a lot more about us who play against Tunisia, all the African countries that Tunisia beat, than it speaks about Tunisia as a team.
How poor they are.
How poor they are. Because if they are getting beaten this way, then the teams they are beating are a lot worse. The teams they are beating a lot worse. And one of these teams they beat regularly is Uganda. In January, at the start of the AFCON, actually in December, because the AFCON started in December, they beat Uganda by 3-1. And they were excellent. They were excellent in that game. So, to think and call them very bad, I do not read the Bible. But I know the Bible says when you're pointing a finger, the others are pointing back at you. So as we are pointing a finger at Tunisia,
Doesn't really say the
all
others
the
are
other
pointing
finger,
back, but it says be careful.
be careful. Yeah, all the others are pointing at the rest of Africa. If these are our best, and we cannot question Tunisia being among the best teams in Africa, yes, they are. I do not rate them personally because I don't think they've done much in terms of excellence. You have to go back to 2004 when they won the Africa Cup, when they signed that Brazilian, Francisco dos Santos, who scored the goals as they won that Africa Cup that they hosted. Thereafter, they've not done much. And I've always found them to be extremely average. But I've also had the privilege, Mebo, when I was younger, I went to Nachivubo to watch a game between Uganda and Tunisia. I think 1998 or 99. Tunisia beat Uganda Cranes by 2-0. It's one of the most dominant performances I've seen from a visiting side in Uganda in my lifetime. They used to have a gentleman with, and I'd call him a gentleman because he played with a lot of grace. He had a bald head similar to Zinedine Zidane, yeah, with the same kind of frame. He was called Hassan Gabsi. He took Uganda to the cleaners. Within 45 minutes, the Uganda Cranes coach at the time, I think should have been Harrison Okagubwe, had to withdraw. Joel Sserunjogi was a left back, a makeshift left back. He had played in that position for Villa, but wasn't a natural. He had to withdraw Joel Sserunjogi and bring in Richard Chirumira. Yeah, Richard Chirumira used to play at Express, a natural left back, just to improve the performance of the team. Yes, it improved, but eventually Uganda lost 2-0. And you want to guess the scoreline when Uganda visited Tunis? It was 6-0.
Because I was about to say 2-0 doesn't show that they took us to the cleaners.
Yeah, 2-0 here, 6-0 in Tunis. But the 2-0 here was a massacre. It was a 2-0 massacre in a game that could have ended 7-0. So when I watch Tunisia and when I watch some of these African teams struggle, and we could say the same of Algeria, yeah, beaten by Messi and Argentina, it says a lot more about us than it says about these teams.
Tunisia.
Yeah.
Okay. Isma, now moving on to talk about some Premier League forwards. We have, Norway versus Senegal. We have Erling Haaland versus, former forward Sadio Mane and, of course, Jackson. I don't know how much they can inspire Senegal.
The center of the conversation around this game is largely around Erling Haaland before you even discuss Senegal. But I feel these are two teams that the margin is not very big. I would say Senegal are higher, not only in ranking, but in terms of stature. Yeah, they've been on the global stage much longer, played at the last 2 Africa Cup of Nations, rather 2 World Cups, won the last Africa Cup of Nations. If you're not Moroccan. So for them, the challenge has been about going to the next level. They have the quality. They have some players playing in the best leagues in the world. But whatever they do is down to stopping Erling Haaland. And I saw an interview, Pape Thiaw, the Senegal national team coach, saying that the Lions of Teranga will not be focusing on Haaland. They are playing Norway. And for me, the basic warning is they are playing Norway and Haaland. when you go into a game this big, especially after Senegal lost their first, if they were to lose here, their chances of going through would be very minimalistic. So they need to get a positive result. Almost for me, they need to win the game. Okay, you could say they will beat Iraq in their final game, but wouldn't hurt if they win the game against Norway. Norway, one of the best teams in the qualifiers, and they carried the same into the World Cup. Score goals in an avalanche. That's why they scored 4 against Iraq. This was Norway's first appearance at the World Cup in 28 years, and predictably, Erling Haaland scored 2, and he's such a lethal forward that when you get him in those positions, I know will be working to get him the ball in areas where he can hurt Senegal. When you get him the ball in those areas, you're almost guaranteed that he'll get you the goals. I'd love to see some changes from that Senegalese side. I saw Thiaw speak about the fitness of Kalidou Koulibaly. There were even doubts that he would start the first game against France because he's been carrying an injury from the Saudi Pro League, that injury that he suffered back in April. And he showed signs of wear and tear in that game against France. So there could be a change at centre-back that brings in Papessa in the central midfield area. The other change I would want to see for Senegal to get a result is around Ismail Assar. I was surprised to see him start the World Cup because at the AFCON in Morocco, Ismail Assar was largely coming off a bench because he wasn't, while he was playing very well for Crystal Palace, he wasn't bringing the same kind of product for the national team. And in those minutes that he played against France, I think he played enough to drop himself from the side. And if that happens, I do not think Senegal have another wing of the same caliber. I think then you go narrow, you play with a diamond midfield where Iliman Ndiaye, the Everton playmaker, walks into that team and partners Idrissa Gana Gueye, Lamine Camara and Pape Gueye. Then you play with a narrow midfield, and that helps you also move Sadio Mane into the central axis alongside Nicholas Jackson. I did not like Sadio Mane tracking far back in the first game. That also caused a penalty against France that was eventually ruled out by VAR because it was getting too deep. If you move him central, then you give Malik Diouf, the West Ham left back, a lot of freedom to roam around that wing. France will not pose the same kind of challenges as, rather Norway will not pose the same kind of challenge like France did. And perhaps you'll have more chances at goal than you had against France. So Senegal for me, have it in them to get a victory against Norway.
You have said that Norway needs to give the ball to Haaland. At the same way, you have also said England need to give the ball to Kane. What else do they need to do, especially regarding their defense? You seem not too bothered about or worried that they conceded 2 goals against Croatia.
I think I would have lived comfortably in 1958 at that World Cup where there were scorelines that were 7-3, yeah? When the greatest scorer in a single World Cup, Just Fontaine, scored 13 goals in 6 games. He was involved in a game where France beat Paraguay by 7-3, and was also involved in a game where France lost to Brazil by 5-2. Pele scored a hat-trick in a World Cup semi-final in 58. I think I would live comfortably in that period. That's why you can accuse me of not being too worried, because I thoroughly enjoyed watching England, the manner in which they beat Croatia by 4-2. You could call it defensive frailty, but I would also think in sport you give away something to gain something, yeah? If you're going to play on the front foot like England did, which has not been a key tenet of Thomas Tuchel's reign as England coach, then you're going to give away something. And I felt in that game, their appetite to try and play with a lot more of attacking verve gave away the kind of chances that Croatia got. Of course, you could blame Jordan Pickford for one of the goals. He came off his line, and it was easy to beat him from that angle, from the right outside the 18-yard box by the Croats. Maybe that is one. But Thomas Tuchel for me in that game showed that they can even get better, because they got away with Anthony Gordon being very poor in the game.
Yeah.
And I think, like I mentioned of Ismail Assar, I think Anthony Gordon also dropped himself with that performance. So Marcus Rashford, I think, has earned the minutes, came on and scored a goal, which was set up by another substitute, Bukayo Saka. At this point, Bukayo Saka has been training on his own, so he's not fit. He's training away from the group. Of course, the exertions of Arsenal's season are starting to show. And over the past 2 years or so, Saka suffered numerous injuries. So you don't think he walks into the side, even if he had a very good performance, that would have led to the dropping of Noni Madueke. And a good headache to have, because Noni Madueke also won a penalty in that game against Croatia. That's for me, the one change for me is Marcus Rashford. Then, I don't think it changes the defensive line. They played John Stones and Ezri Konsa at centre-back, and then brought in Mark Guehi. Before the World Cup started, many of us felt Mark Guehi would be a starting centre-back, but Konsa did not do too badly against Croatia. Maybe then you keep Guehi on the bench and play him in the third. The midfield now is settled. Elliot Anderson, Declan Rice and Jude Bellingham, who also scored in that game against Croatia. Not much can change in that area, but Ghana have spoken out that they have a point to prove in that interview given by Antoine Semenyo, whose best position in the Ghanaian side is still subject to debate, because Carlos Queiroz in that game against Panama played him in 3 positions, played him as a number 10, played him as an out-and-out centre forward, and also played him on the wing, and is their best attacking player. So he has to find a way on where Antoine Semenyo would be most useful to the side. And for me, it has to be off the right wing, because that's where we've seen him perform very well for Bournemouth and eventually for Manchester City. Then also Ghana have Thomas Partey return to the side.
Yeah.
The game is in the US and not in Canada, where I was barred from entering because of that case in court. So I would love to see Ghana have a go, but for me, England will be favourites. And now they have designs on making it to the round of 32. Win this game and England are home and dry with a game to spare. That would not be then a very terrible result, I think, for Ghana if they go out there and compete. And I think they have it in them Ghana have it in them to pick a positive result against England. You just have to target the right areas. Nick O'Reilly is one at left back. If you're seeking a weakness, yes, he's played there for City and done fairly well. But most of the things we've seen about Nick O'Reilly have been in an attacking sense. Yeah, when he's played in the midfield and come in the forward areas and scored goals. So you've got to challenge him defensively if you're Ghana and you think you have an opportunity to make it to the latter rounds of the World Cup.
Do you know who also has a point to prove?
Who else?
Queiroz, because his worst defeat in the World Cup was against England.
During his spell coaching Iran. Yeah?
Yes.
The score should have been 4 or 5,
Yeah.
when England did face him. Though, but I suppose we're still attached to those things, yeah? Maybe not. It's a different coach, maybe a different setup of players. But Carlos Queiroz too knows he could get a longer contract if Ghana make it out of the group stages. Coming into this World Cup in North America, they set themselves a target of making it to the round of 16. They still have that opportunity to make it that far, but for me it starts with getting a positive result against England.
Okay. So how does Colombia break the defense of DRC, the disciplined DRC defense?
While DRC were very good for the result against Portugal, the 1-1 draw, I thought they gave away chances. The chances that we discussed involving Cristiano Ronaldo.
That have made him a topic.
Yeah, a villain, yeah. And sometimes it's a challenge of having also wives and girlfriends. You've seen the Portuguese actress, I think she's 20, Malanero Oragao, yeah, that's the name. She's the girlfriend to João Neves. And I saw a comment, I think someone came onto her Instagram and blamed her husband for not passing the ball. Her boyfriend, João Neves, for not passing the ball enough to Ronaldo. And Malanelo Aragao made a comment about how the GOAT should retire. Yeah, that Ronaldo should retire. And the fight has been ongoing. But one of the mistakes I thought DRC committed in that game, and you could excuse them playing a World Cup after 52 years, is no mean feat. Ronaldo had 2 chances, both set up by Francisco Conceição. DRC should not give either same, because these were basic cutbacks. That means the left back is beaten, then the center back has no recovery time, and Ronaldo just played those wide in trying to score. That's the one thing they can change. I thought their transitional defense was very, very good. The Congolese without the ball, and then when they crossed the ball, Johan Visa with a goal that he scored, then their chances are going to come from that. Colombia will ask them questions when you have a player of the quality of Luis Diaz, with the things we've seen that he's done at Bayern Munich and at Liverpool. The DRC defense will have their hands full with him.
Yeah.
Yeah, but should be an interesting game. Of course, Colombia will be favorites. Out of South America, besides Argentina, Brazil, and Uruguay, I think Colombia are the 4th strongest team from a continent that produces so much talent. So should be an interesting game. If DRC were to pick a result in this one, I think they'll almost guarantee themselves a place in the next round of the World Cup.
Okay. You have said you don't really have support any African team.
I support Uganda. I support Uganda.
Support Uganda,
one.
but unfortunately we are not there in this World Cup 2026. But Bafana have not received much love from the African continent. How do they contain South Korea's Son? That group is still open. Mexico have qualified.
Yeah,
but
the other 3 could still qualify. Yeah. South Africa got an out of jail card with a penalty scored by Teboho Mokoena against Czechia. Do you know Czechia? Your generation wouldn't.
My generation would. It reminds me of Chechnya. I don't know why.
And Chechnya is a totally different place. It's a region in Russia. It's a region in Russia whose capital is Grozny. Yeah, I do watch my news.
But I remember Czechoslovakia,
which was broken up into Czech Republic and Slovakia.
And Slovenia.
And Slovenia too. Now, even the Czech Republic is no more because the name has now changed. It's called Czechia. South Africa got an out of jail card against Czechia. Yeah, it wouldn't help if we sit on this show and say Czech Republic, and then some viewers are thinking, what country is that? We haven't seen it at the World Cup. Yes, but Czechia. So they are still in the World Cup because of that result. They are going to be missing several players. I think they have 3 players suspended, including Mokoena. He has had 2 bookings in 2 games and is out of the game. Themba Zwane had his red card extended after that elbow, or that extension of an elbow in their first game against Mexico. So Hugo Bruce has to come up with solutions with some of the squad players to help carry a bit of the load. While there is a fear around when you're facing Heung-min Son, I don't think he's having his best spell. I don't think South Korea were very good in their tournament opener against in their previous game. So South Africa have a chance if they defend better than they did against Mexico, and maybe if they have a lot more faith in the attacking players and they are willing to have a go at that Korean Republic backline. I saw when Maghopa is very popular on social media because he dances with every goal he scores for Orlando Pirates. When he gets some minutes, because he's been coming off a bench largely for most of their games, that's a bonus. And then you've got to hope that Mudau, their right back, who also plays at Sundowns, makes those runs across the pitch in an attacking sense, and it supports the forward players, because South Africa need a result. They need to win the game. Even a draw wouldn't be sufficient, because 2 points would not get them into top 2. Neither will they get them into one of the places of the 8th third best placed teams. They need to win the game, and though highly unlikely because of a challenge Hugo Bruce faces, if you're going to win a lottery, you buy a ticket. They just have to buy the ticket, and for me, have a go at that back line.
Buy a ticket. Sometimes, yeah, you have to get out of your comfort
You'll
zone.
forgive me where we are. There's a lot of wind blowing, so I think something just went in my, but I've been able to get it out. But there's a lot of wind blowing into our faces.
Yeah. So, and in order to get a job, you have to apply, you know. Well, some people, jobs are handed over to them, but URA have advertised here locally in Uganda. Are you going to put in your application?
It's for coaching,
Yeah.
so I wouldn't.
You need to have a certificate?
Pages, yeah.
So,
you have some
Isma, am I
papers.
more qualified than you, technically speaking? Because I
Yes. You are more qualified to be a CEO of
No,
a
no,
club
no.
because of Famako.
have... Yes,
Yeah.
aha.
To be a CEO, to be an
Wow.
administrator than I am
Wow.
in Ugandan football. URA have done something that I would call a sin on football. However, the chairman of URA is part of my family, my extended family, Mika Mwanja. So sometimes I want to criticize URA, but I have a conflict of interest. And I've learned over time to declare my conflict of interest. So all these things I'm going to say about URA, exempt the chairman, except the chairman. I find the club very, very confused with where they want to go. Going back to last season, they get rid of a coach mid-season and then hire Hussein Mbalangu, my friend Hussein Mbalangu, as coach. When they hire him on an interim basis, knowing he's going to be in charge from only January until the end of the season, but they hand him power to send away players who had longer contracts than 6 months. So they are making a mistake by allowing a coach who's there in an interim basis to decide who the playing squad will be long term. So they get rid of some players in January, and these players have to still get paid. So now Mbalangu is gone. So then they go and commit even another sin. They advertise the launch of the search of a new head coach for the club. Where have you heard that in the world? It's actually crazy.
They're handpicked.
Because ordinarily, you, as a club, you sit down and decide the direction you want to take. Then you think about the coach you think will execute that. Or you approach several of them and tell them this is what we want to do with the club. Then you negotiate and agree on how much and the terms of reference, for people to take this job. So they've decided to advertise the launch of the search of a new head coach.
Maybe there's something people know that they don't know. So maybe I know someone, let's say in Rwanda or Burundi, and I say, you know what, there's this job, I think you'll be a good fit for URA.
I've seen it with national teams, National teams normally advertise jobs. And URA being a government institution, maybe they would, but and I understand government processes more than many people, and I follow them quite a bit. I do not think hiring a coach at URA follows PPDA, Public Procurement and Disposal of Assets. It doesn't follow the PPDA Act. So they almost made it sound like they are going to follow some kind of process that has arrived from Neptune, from the galaxy to find a coach. I found it very wrong. It just emphasizes the confusion at the club.
That they have. Yeah, okay.
And they have been fighting relegation for 2 seasons now.
Okay. Let's talk about Joel Sserunjogi.
Reports indicate that any time is going to be unveiled by Vipers. Further emphasizes part of the mess that is at KCCA. When you're losing one of your best players, because he's only come out of, he's played for KCCA for 2 years. I think he's playing the regional league for Olise, and also played in the Masaza tournament. Then KCCA snapped him up and he's played there for 2 years, and he's done well. I remember making an argument that I think he should be then summoned for the Nations Cup team that went to Morocco, not because it was going to make a difference to the result, but because I think we need to start building these players by putting them amongst the group, so they start to learn things about the culture and gain a bit of confidence. So is leaving and joining Vipers, just yet another player coming out of KCC. If you're going to compete with someone at that level and then they are joining your rivals, it doesn't, I think, leaves KCC naked. Yeah, they've been stripped naked.
What can they do to hold on to their players?
One thing you would say is pay them more. Yeah, they need to break the wage structure. And some of these things I know with KCC start with the person in charge at City Hall. When Jennifer Musise-Makula involved with the club and her passion, and Julius Raymond Kabugo was the chairman at the club, and also had Jennifer Musise's ear at 3 a.m. Yeah, it was very easy to get so many things moving. Now it's become very difficult. Remember, they lost Alan Okello to Vipers, and they lost Usama Arafat to Vipers. Now
Joel
they are going
Sserunjogi
to lose another of their best players to Vipers. That does not augur well with me and any KCCA fan, and I'm not one, that you're losing some of your best players to Vipers.
Okay. What's the truth with Michael Olise?
In the world, stories are only true when they are denied. And there's been a denial in a statement, an official denial by Real Madrid, because ordinarily it would have been just an interview, Florentino Perez saying we are not going to sign that player. Real Madrid have been provoked to the extent of having to release a statement saying they have not made contact with Olise or his representatives or people in his circle. That's a line that I like. They did not even say Olise and his agent. They said people in his circle or Bayern Munich in regard to trying to sign the French winger from Germany. After Florentino Perez, remember, had come out with that statement that they would sign a Champions League player, and actually had also made a bid of 150 million euros for him, which of course was denied by, was rejected by Bayern Munich. And Bayern Munich have also spoken that they have no will at all to sell, not even negotiate. They are not even willing to negotiate for any kind of fee. So there was a story that had been broken, I think, a few days ago, that Real Madrid would be willing to pay as much as 220 million euros for Michael Olise, which would match the fee that PSG paid for Neymar when they signed him from Barcelona. And that report also further said that they've actually negotiated personal terms with Michael Olise. So Real Madrid have had to release a statement and saying that they respect Bayern Munich so much that if they had to want to sign a player from Bayern, they would have to go through the right channels. And also that's an admission that they always go through the wrong channels to sign players. Because, you know, Real Madrid's way of operation has always been destabilizing a player. Then they negotiate with his team and the player agrees, then the player skips a training session. But I also understand it's a bit of a time, because while coming here, I was speaking to someone who supports United, and I was reminding them that Real Madrid could have some of the most expensive free agents today in football. You remember they signed Rudiger as a free agent, now Ibu Konate, more importantly Mbappe. They almost signed Trent Alexander-Arnold as a free agent, only that Liverpool insisted and got £10 million out of that deal to allow him to play at the FIFA Club World Cup before that. But he had almost been destined to leave as a free agent after his contract had expired on June 30th. So I'm not even convinced that Madrid are going to pay this kind of money for Michael Olise. But in sport and in life, a story is only true once it's denied. When I saw that official denial on headed paper by Real Madrid, then I knew there's something in here.
Okay, let's talk about the FIFA Women's Cup final. A double has still eluded Kawempe.
They still can't get over that hump. They failed to win the FIFA Women's Cup from when it was introduced. They've got very close, and this was another opportunity because they got to a final against the team they loathe the most at the Kadiba, yeah, Kechu in Luganda, yeah. You could call it Kekyo because Mabel comes from a totally different place. So Kampala Queens won the game.
What does Brandon say? Kechu?
Yeah, everyone around Ugandan football calls it Kechu.
Okay.
Yeah. They won the game by 2-0 to salvage their season, because remember Kampala Queens hardly mounted a defense of their title. Were barely competitive, and eventually the title went down to Shikopret and Kawempe. Kawempe got the league, but still cannot win a league and cup double. even seasons when they've been dominant, they've gone on and lost in the Women's Cup. To the extent that I've seen Kawempe people who have posted that they've given up. Kana kakopo to kagana. Actually, they use the word kagana. This sort of competition they'll win because they were favourites for that final. For the kind of son Kampala Queens have had, but not sufficient. KQ are champions, or KQ are champions. Yeah.
Okay, Rugby Premiership. Did you watch it?
Yes, I did. In the
With
end,
your group of people?
No, no. In the end, Heathens did something that I've always given them a lot of credit for, that I did not mention on this show. And because we did the show before, I was on KFM on Saturday. On KFM, I said something that during my time of going to the rugby club to watch clubs and Uganda play, and that is for a period that exceeds anywhere close to 23 years. The one team that I know that will show up when you don't give them a chance is Heathens. And when I was mentioning that on KFM Sport, I also mentioned that many a time it has always been about the experience, because Heathens tend to keep their older players longer than Cobs and Pirates and all these other teams. They have a lot more experience. But I could not put it on this Heathens side because they have too many young players on the side. And I also hope that Malcolm Okello and Aaron Ofoiroth are recalled to the side. And indeed they were. And they made a huge difference. Now, for everything that Heathens have not been this season or this year, they are the only team that have beaten Pirates twice. And they actually went to Kings Park and won the game, 27-21. However, they needed to overturn a 13-point deficit because they had lost the first leg, 15-3. So they needed to win the game by 14-0 for them to be able to get to the final. But this game was a confirmation of everything I've always felt about Heathens. That even when they do not deserve a chance or they do not deserve a bet, they'll go there and compete. And they went to Kings Park and competed, won the game. However, they lost on an aggregate score 36-30, and now Pirates are into the final to play to Toyota Buffaloes. But a lot of flowers to Heathens in the manner in which they competed. And there was some, if people still bite nails for sport, I do not. I think there was some nail biting at Kings Park Arena during, especially in that, there was a phase when Heathens were very dominant and had taken the lead. Then at the start of the second half, Pirates needed to score first, and they did, to ensure that Heathens would not run away with the game. But even right at the end, there was some nail biting to emphasize that Heathens gave this a very good account, but eventually lost because of that first leg result at Chadondo.
Okay, and as we conclude, Serena Williams has been given a wild card as a single. Before, it was her and her sister for the doubles at Wimbledon, but now she's received a wild card.
How old is she?
Is she 40?
44.
No, Venus
43.
is older, and Venus is in her mid-40s, so Serena could be early 40s. Let me Google. Why are we here struggling?
I was really concerned about her age because I think she should be 43. Yeah, she should be 43. Will be good to see her play again in the white of Wimbledon. The results, I'm not very sure will be so thrilling.
She's 44.
44.
She was born in 81.
So her sister Venus is what, 48 or 49? They're going to be playing in the doubles because they have a wild card.
Yes.
And now she's got a wild card to play the singles, and she's accepted. What a risk. What a risk.
You don't want her to go. Venus is 46.
Comebacks never go well. They never go well. Even when Zidane came back for that 2006 World Cup, he almost is the closest we've come to a comeback going well. They almost won the World Cup. David Trezeguet
boxers go and come back. If you talk about...
No, forget this one. This one, the Tyson Furies do not warrant a discussion. Even when they retire, every time they've retired, maybe you and I have known each other for long. Every time Fury has retired, I've told he's going to come back. And he has come back. So there hasn't been retirement in the sense of true retirement for Tyson Fury. Serena Williams, what a risk. What a risk. Because she's going to walk out at SW19, and she doesn't have the same movement she had when she made her debut. Should be 1998, when she first played Wimbledon. what a risk. And there's a time when we really waited for her to win that 24th Grand Slam title and match Margaret Court. Eventually eluded her even when she was making semi-finals and finals.
Just like Novak Djokovic.
I'm not too excited.
You're not too
I'm not too excited about Serena walking out there, because these young girls, the Mirand Rivers, the amount of movement, because she doesn't have the same movement. Yeah, and I want to describe her physical appearance.
A mother of two now.
She's not as lean as she was back then. And for me, the trick for every opponent is just going to be move her across the court. You'll be able to get as many points. If she makes it past the first round, that will be a huge success. Huge success for her. I don't think she'll make it past the first round.
Okay. So we've got to end it here. Remember, do get yourself a decoder to watch all the World Cup games. It's been such an exciting week or month. I'm thinking, what shall we do when the World Cup ends? But only 15,000 shillings, Go TV, DSTV. Take care of yourselves. Remember to share, like and subscribe. And to all our 2,000 subscribers, thank you very much.
Are you tired of the daily hustle and bustle, the endless traffic just to get your little one to a good school? GMS Nabingo offers a unique blend of academic excellence with a holistic child development in both nursery and primary. We provide a national curriculum with an international touch. Enroll your child today by visiting our campus along Trinity College Nabingo Road. GMS Nabingo, where every child's potential is a reality. Because we care.